I still remember when walking into that office felt like coming home. The air was always a mix of fresh coffee and warm printer ink. And every desk, especially ours, told a story. My brother and I. We built that story together. It wasn't just a job back then. It was our dream. The family investment firm was small, but full of possibility, and every day felt like we were laying bricks on the same wall. Side by side, I'd get in early. He'd come in a little later, usually with a fresh cup for me and some half-sarcastic comment about my overachiever. Hours, and I'd fire back with a grin because back then, it was all in good fun. It's 10:30 p.m. The office is lit by that soft amber glow of desk lamps. Empty pizza boxes are stacked at the corner. My brother's leaning back in his chair, laughing at something ridiculous, I said while scrolling through market data. I'm tapping away on the keyboard, sound of the keys blending with the hum of the air conditioner. Those nights never felt like work. They felt like we were building something no one could take away from us. We'd talk about the future like it was already written, the expansion, the bigger office, the team we'd lead together. We had this unspoken trust that whatever came our way, we'd face it as brothers first, partners second. Looking back now, I realize how rare that kind of closeness was, how dangerous it is to believe it will last forever, because when you're in the golden years, you don't see the cracks. You don't even look for them. You're too busy believing you're untouchable. The day my brother officially became a partner was supposed to be one of the proudest moments of our lives. I remember standing there in the conference room, sunlight, pouring through the blinds, watching him sign the papers. My chest felt like it was going to burst. We'd finally done it, two brothers, shoulder to shoulder, leading the family firm. We popped open a bottle of champagne that had been sitting in the cabinet for years, waiting for this exact day. The cork shot across the room, bounced off. A filing cabinet, and we all laughed like kids again. A slow pan across smiling faces. The golden fizz of champagne bubbling in crystal glasses. His arm slung around my shoulder as we posed for a quick photo. I remember thinking, this is the beginning of something even better. But here's the thing about big moments. Sometimes they're not the start of something new. They're the start of something ending. It started small. A subtle change in his tone during meetings. A new habit of clarifying my points, as if my ideas suddenly needed translation. He began taking calls behind closed doors, something we never used to do at first. I brushed it off, told myself he was just stepping into the pressure of his new role, that the weight of partnership was heavy on anyone's shoulders, and I wanted him to have space. He was my brother. I trusted him to still be him. But there was this one moment, just a flicker, when I caught him looking at me during the celebration dinner. Everyone else was laughing and he was smiling too. But it didn't reach. His eyes, it was the first time I felt it, that cold draft between us. And yet I pushed the thought away. I wasn't ready to believe that something was shifting. I told myself, we're fine. We're brothers. Nothing can change that. It didn't. Happen all at once. It was more like water finding its way into hairline cracks. Slow, silent, but steady. And before you know it, the damage is everywhere. The first real disagreement was over an investment proposal I'd been working on for weeks. I'd run the numbers 3 times, cross-checked every source, and I was proud of it. We'd made millions. From less solid ideas, we were in the boardroom surrounded by the usual suspects, our senior advisors, a couple of analysts. The smell of burnt coffee drifting in from the break room. I'd just finished my pitch when my brother leaned back, cleared his throat, and said, "Yeah, that's interesting. But I think we can do better." And just like that, he pushed my entire plan aside. No warning, no private conversation. Went straight into his alternative, using my presentation as a stepping stone to make himself look sharper. I remember gripping my pen so tight I thought it might snap. My jaw ached from forcing a smile while the team nodded along with him. Close-up of my hand twisting the pen, the camera catching the faint tremor in my fingers. His voice in the background, calm but clipped. As if I'd presented something half-baked, it became a pattern. Little jokes in meetings. It's about how my brother here loves the safe plays. Comments about how maybe I should let the younger ideas shine. He'd laugh afterward, expecting me to laugh too, but something about the way his eyes held mine made it clear. These weren't just jokes. I started second-guessing myself, wondering if I was playing it too safe, if I was falling behind. I'd leave the office late, sitting in my car with the engine running, replaying the day's conversations in my head. When did we stop being a team and start keeping score? It's strange how you can lose someone without them ever leaving the room. One day you're sharing inside jokes over takeout, and the next, you're just two people passing each other in a hallway. The change wasn't loud. It didn't come with an argument or a slammed door. It came in quiet ways. Our morning "Hey, how was your night?" turned into a polite nod. Our late-night debriefs turned into brief, clinical emails, bullet points, no personality. The text thread we'd kept alive for years, full of memes, random late-night thoughts, and running jokes, was now stripped bare. A wall of per our discussion and C attached. My phone buzzes during lunch. I see his name, expecting a quick laugh or maybe a shared headline. Instead, it's meeting rescheduled, agenda attached. Oh hey, no thanks. No, brother. Even in meetings, he kept things short. I'd make a suggestion, and he'd just say, noted. Before moving on to the next item, that word noted started to feel like a dismissal. Like a period at the end of a sentence I didn't get to finish. The worst part, he wasn't unkind. He was polite, professional, almost too professional. As if we were strangers whose only connection was a shared office address. And somehow, that formality stung more than anger ever could. I'd sit in my office after he left for the day, staring at the glow of my monitor, listening to the faint echo of keyboards from the cleaning staff vacuuming the hallway. It was like the laughter had been sucked out of the building, and I was the only one who noticed. It was a Thursday. Not that the day of the week matters, but for some reason, I'll always remember it was a Thursday. Maybe because Thursdays used to be our catch-up day, when we'd sit down, compare notes, make plans for the week ahead. Only this time, the meeting wasn't in my office. He called me into his. The blinds were drawn. The air smelled faintly of the cologne he'd started wearing recently, sharp, almost metallic. He gestured for me to sit, but didn't look up from the papers on his desk right away. That should have been my first sign. Then, in a voice so calm it didn't feel real, he said, "I'm going to have to let you go." I just stared at him. I thought I'd misheard. I thought maybe this was some sick attempt at humor, the kind he'd spring on me before cracking a grin. But he didn't smile. He didn't even blink. "It's just business," he added. Like those 3 words could somehow soften the blow. My ears started ringing. I could feel my heartbeat in my temples. I wanted to ask why, but my mouth wouldn't form the word. Instead, I just sat there, gripping the armrest, watching his lips move as he explained the restructuring and new direction for the firm. Every sentence sounded like it was coming from far away, like I was underwater, and all I could think was, this is my brother. My brother is firing me, his voice echoing in my head. It's just business, over and over, until the words lost meaning and became just a hollow hum in my ears. When I finally stood up, my legs felt like they didn't belong to me. I walked back to my office in a daze, the hallway stretching out longer than it had ever been. That night, after everyone had left, I stayed behind. I sat at my desk, papers scattered around me like debris after a storm, staring at the wall where our framed partnership photo used to hang. There's no graceful way to pack up your life in a cardboard box. One moment. Your desk is a reflection of years of work, the neatly stacked reports, the pen you always reached for, the photo of us grinning at our first company retreat, and the next. It's just empty space. I didn't rush. I moved slowly, as if dragging it out might somehow delay the inevitable. The office felt different that day. The air was heavier. The hum of the fluorescent lights louder. Every step I took echoed in a way I'd never noticed before. I kept my eyes down, avoiding the curious glances from the few people still around. I didn't owe them an explanation, not yet. As I walked toward the elevator, I passed my old office door. The nameplate was gone. It shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. just a blank strip of metal where my name used to be. I stopped for a second, running my fingers over it, half expecting to feel some trace of who I was here. But there was nothing. When the elevator finally arrived, I stepped inside and set the box on the floor. Slow motion, the doors sliding shut. Cutting off my last glimpse of the place where I'd spent the best and worst years of my career, it was only when the doors closed completely that I realized I hadn't said goodbye to my brother, and he hadn't said goodbye to me. It was about a week after I left. I was still waking up at 6 a.m. out of habit, still half reaching for my work laptop before remembering I didn't have one anymore. My days felt like empty pages, and I didn't know what to write on them. That morning I got a text from Mark, one of the few people at the firm I trusted. Coffee?
I'll need to talk.
We met at this little cafe we used to hit during lunch breaks. The kind with chipped mugs and an old ceiling fan that creaked every time it turned. I thought maybe he just wanted to check in, maybe offer a few words of sympathy. But the way he kept glancing around before he spoke told me this was something else. The steam from my cappuccino curling upward, blurring the space between us. Spoon tapping the rim of the cup, a slow, steady rhythm, till his words made me freeze mid-stir. He found out, Mark said quietly. I asked, found out what? About the portfolio you've been building on the side. It's the clients you brought in under your own name. I felt my jaw tighten. Yes, I'd been managing a small set of personal investments, completely legal, completely above board. I'd even told my brother about it years ago, back when we still shared everything. But apparently, somewhere along the way, he decided to see it as a threat. Mark leaned in, his voice barely a whisper. He thinks you were positioning yourself to break away and compete. Said it was only a matter of time before you took half the clients with you. I sat there, stunned. Anger flared hot in my chest, but beneath it was something sharper validation. So I wasn't fired because I was incompetent or irrelevant. I was fired because he was scared. The brother who once trusted me with his life now saw me as an enemy. On the drive home from that cafe, I couldn't stop replaying the past year in my head. Every awkward pause, every clipped reply, every meeting where my ideas suddenly needed more review. It was like someone had switched on a projector in my mind, playing back all the moments I'd filed away as random or meaningless. Only now, they fit together like pieces of a puzzle I didn't even know I was solving. The jokes about me playing it safe. The closed door calls. The way he started. CCing other partners on our private emails. They weren't quirks or coincidences. They were signals, warnings. I just didn't want to read them. A brief glance exchanged in a meeting, his smile. Gone the second I looked at him standing with another partner in the hallway. Voices dropping as I walked by, my phone lighting up with a late-night text. We'll discuss tomorrow.
With no explanation.
I remember once asking him directly, is something wrong? He laughed it off, said, you worry too much. But now I could hear what that laugh was hiding. The realization sat heavy in my chest. This hadn't been a sudden betrayal. It had been a slow, deliberate distancing. He'd been preparing for this 4 months, maybe longer, and the worst part wasn't the firing. It was knowing that all the while, I'd still been fighting for us, defending him in front of others, thinking we were still on the same side. That kind of blindness. It leaves a scar. There was a moment right after I learned the truth when I wanted to fight back, to march into his office, throw the facts in his face, and make sure everyone knew exactly why I'd been pushed out. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it would just keep me tied to him, to the firm, to the anger. And I was tired of living in that space, so instead, I went for a walk. It was early afternoon, the sun filtering through the trees in the park near my apartment. I sat on a worn wooden bench, listening to the rustle of leaves overhead, and the faint laughter of kids somewhere in the distance, me leaning back on the bench. Watching sunlight shift across the grass. That's when it hit me. My worth was never in the nameplate on an office door. It was in the work I'd done, the people I'd helped, the skills I'd built, and none of that disappeared just because my brother decided to see me as competition. I could build again, not to prove him wrong, but to prove to myself that I was. more than the version of me that fit neatly into our story. I started making a list in my phone: ideas, contacts, possibilities. With every name I typed, I felt a little lighter. It wasn't revenge I wanted anymore. It was freedom. It's funny how quiet peace can be. No dramatic music, no grand finale, just a steady calm that feels almost foreign after months of tension. I found myself in my home office one morning, sorting through a drawer I hadn't touched. Since leaving the firm, folders, contracts, old meeting notes, all little relics of a life I'd been forced out of. For a second, I almost started reading them. Old habits. But then I realized I didn't need to. I didn't need any of it. Flashback scene, I fed the first document into the shredder. The hum of the blades was louder than I expected, each sheet disappearing into thin strips. Years of late nights, early mornings, and impossible deadlines gone in seconds. And with each page I felt lighter. By the time I finished, the drawer was empty. So was the space in my chest where the anger used to live. The business bond. With my brother was gone. I don't know if our personal bond will ever recover. Maybe it won't. But I've stopped replaying the betrayal in my head. I've stopped wondering what I could have done differently. Because the truth is this: ending cleared space for something else. Something I get to build on my own terms.